everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another Friday Focus video. Today I'm starting a new mini series and I'm calling it One Card, One Stamp Set. The idea for this mini series came from a card that I posted last Monday where I used one stamp set for all of the stamping on the card. A few of you at my blog mentioned that you really liked that idea, and so I decided to take it as a challenge and really give myself a challenge to create some cards using only one stamp set on each card. I won't be mixing and matching stamp sets or anything like that. So the stamp set I'm using today is the Butterfly stamp set from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm using a technique that's called rock and roll. If you are an experienced stamper or if you've been stamping for a while, you might be familiar with this technique. It's kind of all over the place and it's a really fun one. It's when you take a particular stamp and you ink it up in a lighter color, or any color really, and then before you stamp it down onto your paper, you rock and roll the outer edges of that stamp into a darker color. Sometimes the first color can transfer onto the ink pad of the second color, like you can see here on this darker teal color, but it's not a problem. You can take some scratch paper and dab that off and it picks up all of that first ink color. So the second ink pad is not harmed at all. The butterflies I'm using from the stamp set, there are 3 different sizes of butterflies. I'm using the 2 largest. I used the medium butterfly at the bottom of the card, and now I'm using the larger butterfly with some pink colors. I used a pale pink color, and then now I'm using a more intense, darker raspberry. And the thing that's really neat about using clear stamps with this particular technique is that you can see where the ink is coming in on the outer edges of your stamp. And you can kind of manipulate it and add a little bit more or make sure the ink's in the right spot. So I'm going to press down this stamp. It's a very large stamp, so I'm pressing down the center very well. And then I'll lift up and move on to the third butterfly on this card. I'm going to be using some purple colors, and I'm going to take the lighter purple and ink up that same butterfly stamp that I used at the bottom of the card. I, of course, cleaned it off before I did this and just inked up in the pale purple color, and now I'll go into this darker purple color. Watch particularly how it shows on the stamp, and you can really see where that ink is being added to the stamp. I really love to use clear stamps for this particular reason, because I can absolutely see what is going on. So I'll go ahead and stamp that down. You'll notice that purple ink pad got quite a bit of that lighter purple ink on it, but all of that ink came off the ink pad with no problem. I wanted to add some stamping over top of that teal butterfly, but I didn't want it to disturb any of that teal ink, so I decided to create a mask. I just stamped that butterfly in some black ink on some stamping mask paper, and I also ran my heat gun over the stamping because I wanted to make sure it was completely dry. Then I applied the mask over that butterfly and moved on to stamping the ABC border stamp that comes in the stamp set. I'm using Simon Says Stamp Fog ink for this because it's a very pale ink and it will sort of recede into the background. It won't be as obvious as if I was using a darker ink color. So I repeat stamped that over and over to create a little bit of a collage look down at the bottom corner. And then I decided to work on my greeting area. I took my EK Success powder tool and prepped some white cardstock and stamped the frame from that stamp set, coated it with gold embossing powder, and before I heat set this, I stamped the greeting inside. I did it this way because I wanted to be able to see where I was stamping to make sure I got that greeting inside the frame. After I had all the gold embossing powder applied, I heat set that until it was completely melted, and I set it aside for just a minute while I worked on some additional stamping on top of the butterflies. I heat set that butterfly, and then I wanted to test to make sure that I wouldn't have any embossing powder sticking, and it passed the test. So now I'm going to move on by using my powder tool over the top of that pink butterfly and then stamping the large polka dot butterfly from the stamp set right over top of that pink. I'm going to be layering some gold embossing powder over the top, and it's going to give a really fun layered gold embossed look. So I'll use my heat tool to heat set this until it's completely melted, and you can see in the light that it creates a really pretty gold shiny color. I then took my label that I stamped earlier and embossed and trimmed that out very closely. And then I applied a little bit of foam adhesive on the back. And then using my tweezers and also just my fingers to get it in the right place, I adhered that down over the top of the smaller butterfly at the bottom and tied around some May Art natural twine and added a bow off to the side. I then prepped my card base by scoring some Basil Marshmallow cardstock at 5.5 to create a top folding card. All of the white cardstock on this card is Basil Marshmallow, and I made sure to use all the same cardstock so that all the whites would match. So I pressed that stamped piece all the way down onto the card front, and that is the finished card for today. Really simple and easy, only using one stamp set, some ink, and some embossing powder, and a little bit of twine. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you have any stamp set suggestions that you'd like to see me use on cards, please leave it in the comments below. I might take your suggestion. I'm looking for some fun stamp sets with greetings and images, and if I already have the stamp set, you might see me use it next week. Thanks for watching. I have 3 more card videos for you to check out. These are just random videos I thought you might want to watch and see some different techniques. And also, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. I'd greatly appreciate it. And please hit that subscribe button in the top corner. I am super close to 100,000 subscribers. And when we get there, I promise I will have a really big giveaway. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And you can also visit my blog at kwarnerdesign.com and visit me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys Monday.